And that cleared Trump the 270 electoral votes needed to clinch the presidency. You can see those live results here on your screen. He has 277 electoral votes, Kamala at 224. Trump is the first former president to return to power since Grover Cleveland regained the White House in the 1892 election.
Also, according to the Associated Press, Republicans have won control of the Senate. West Virginia Republican Governor Jim Justice picked up a Senate seat there. Also, Florida Senator Rick Scott and Texas Senator Ted Cruz have both won their re-election bids. Republicans now have 51 seats in the chamber. The last time the Republican Party took control of the Senate was 2021. This has been a historic night into these early morning hours.
Yeah, we have seen that certainly here, and we are going to continue to bring you the very latest results as we get your day started. That's on a national and a local level. We're bringing you team coverage this morning with our Aaliyah Demry live in Rochester covering the results of the school district referendum. Also, our Charles Kelly is in studio to break down some of the other local races that we have. First, we want to share the results of that long-awaited Ignite student learning referendum.
Early this morning, we learned voters say yes to that. Our Aaliyah Demry has been covering this big story for our local viewing area, joining us now live outside of the Edison building in Rochester to break down what this decision means for the future of the district. Good morning, Aaliyah.
Good morning, Jess and Kelsey. This was a top question on the ballot, impacting all the community here in Rochester. But this hopefully will help solve the problems in RPS with this new funding. RPS asks voters for nearly $200 million over 10 years to help cover the district's general expenses. The results show 57% as yes at 100% of the vote reporting. One of the biggest issues the referendum addresses is stabilizing the district's budget. The money will enhance curriculum, classroom needs, and technology improvements. On Election Day, KTTC met and spoke with Rochester voters. Some say RPS students are the future of the community and that they need support for their success. According to a head election judge working at Overland Elementary, he doesn't have any children but feels strongly that their futures need to be invested in.
Children are the future, and we should take care of those who choose to have children. Children don't decide whether or not to be born. They are born, and it's my duty, I believe, to give them the best future possible. So when it comes to funding our schools or free lunch programs for the students, I am all in favor of that, even if it doesn't benefit me personally.
With this referendum being approved, the district will avoid nearly $16 million in budget cuts. And as for homeowners across Rochester, you will see an increase in your property taxes annually. For example, a home value of $325,000, you will see a monthly bill of $29 a month. Reporting in Rochester, Aaliyah Demry, KTTC News.
All right, Aaliyah, yeah, a big story there that we'll continue to follow. Thank you so much for your reporting. We do want to stay with the school district here in the race for RPS seat 1 on the school board. Incumbent Don Barlow comes out on top, beating out Patrick Farmer. Barlow has served for the past 8 years. Turning to seat number 3, we have incumbent Karen McLaughlin. She is winning this race and was elected to that seat in 2020. Her challenger, John Whelan, campaigned with what he says he was a focus on academics, budget, and common sense. Again, Karen McLaughlin winning that race. Moving on to seat 7 on the school board here, currently held by Dr. Jessica Garcia. She is not seeking re-election. So in this race, Stephanie Whitehorn has beaten Christina Barton. Again, that is seat 7 for Rochester Public Schools.
We do have more names and numbers coming up on this day after the election, but we want to tell you what to expect as you get ready for work and school and head out the door this morning. The rain has stopped, Ted.
The rain's out of the picture actually for another few days. We likely won't see any more rain until the weekend. So this is good news. If you're not excited about having to use rain gear for a while, you won't need it at least for another work day or another school day for a while anyway. Here's the current scene. Clouds are holding on. Yeah, like gray sky is hanging tough as we look outside to the south with our Lewiston auto camera, waiting for eventually some breaks in the clouds, and there will be some sunshine later on. But right now we start the day with clouds and some fog. Areas west of Rochester are dealing with some pretty thick fog. Austin now has seen the visibility drop to half a mile. To the west, less than that. Albert Lee, quarter mile visibility, Owatonna less than a quarter of a mile, and Mankato quarter of a mile. So there's some pretty thick fog holding on. There is a dense fog advisory, as you can imagine, in those areas. Everything from west of Austin, though Austin at this point is having some pretty thick fog of its own, but along and west of Interstate 35, that dense fog advisory until 10 o'clock this morning. So fog, clouds, and then later in the day, the fog will lift, the clouds will break up a bit. We'll have increasing sunshine heading into the afternoon. 40 degrees right now at the studio with the light breeze. Winds will remain light throughout the day from the north and the northwest. 39 at the airport in Rochester. It's 39 in Mason City. Mankato a little colder, but a very light breeze. 33, not much wind chill impact, but you do have to deal with that pesky fog. But in time, the fog will lift. We'll have some breaks of sunshine, especially during the afternoon. Temperatures climbing from the upper 30s to the upper 40s. High temperature 49 later today for our Wednesday.
Okay, well, it'll be good to maybe see a little sun.
Good to see the sun and just a nice, quiet, peaceful day.
I think everyone can get behind quiet and peaceful on a day after the election. Thank you. All right, let's get to some more races now. Let's talk about Rochester City Council member at large or president. Randy Schubring, current chair of the Rochester Planning and Zoning Commission, has won this race over current City Council member Sean Palmer. Schubring and Palmer both shared with us why they felt they were the best for the job.
I've been on the City Council for 6 years. I've watched the City Council for 30 years. And it's my belief and a lot of people's belief that you need to have that experience being on the City Council and then becoming council president. Otherwise, it's really difficult to see what's going on.
I'm a former neighborhood leader, and so when you connect with your neighbors, neighbor to neighbor, it's where you build trust and respect for each other. And I think that is the basis of a thriving and safe city.
Staying with City Council, Ward 2, the seat there up for grabs, Mark Bransford deciding not to seek re-election. Nick Miller, a board member for We Bike Rochester, wins this race. He was facing Trip Welch, who's an administrator at Mayo Clinic. In the race for City Council Ward 4, incumbent Kelly Ray Kirkpatrick was challenged by Andy Fredericks. He is the winner here. Voters electing Kirkpatrick, or they did in 2020, but there will be a change come next year for this. Looking toward 6, district that's been in the headlines over the past year, current council member Molly Dennis has a lawsuit against the city alleging discrimination due to her ADHD. She did not advance in the primary election in August. Pastor Dan Doring there, as well as Mark Schluchner moved on, and we can tell you this morning that Doring will be taking this position on the City Council. There are many other school referendums that were voted on in our area.
All across our viewing area, so let's go back to Charles Kelly, who's kind of taking a look and breaking down those results for us this morning in studio. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning, Jess and Kelsey. Voters have decided on several referendums for school districts in southeast Minnesota and northeast Iowa. Let's start in Byron. The school district was seeking nearly $2 million more a year from taxpayers over 10 years in the form of an operating referendum. And as you can see, they voted no on that referendum. In Winona County, the Lewiston-Altour School District also posed 2 questions to voters. The first is an operating referendum to increase per student spending, and here voters passed that. And Lewiston-Altour's second question is a bond referendum of nearly $20 million for improvements to school facilities, and here they also passed that referendum. Moving on, 2 questions for voters in the Kingsland School District, serving the Spring Valley and Wyckoff communities. The first question seeks nearly $9 million for school building improvements. The full results coming in early this morning with a yes. The second question requires the first question to be passed for it to even be considered. This $11.5 million ask is for a new physical education space, and that was voted down by voters. And to northeast Iowa now, the Decorah Community School District was seeking voter support to tune of $38 million for construction of a new elementary school. Voters did pass that. And we'll have more election results throughout the morning, and you can see the full results on our website. Reporting live in studio, I'm Charles Kelly. Back to you.
All right, good breakdown there, Charles. Thank you so much. It is 5:39, deciding races for Washington and the Minnesota State House. We have continued election coverage just ahead on the morning show.
Well, the checklist today, not needing the rain gear this time around, but we will need The jacket is chilly. We're in the 30s, low 40s, and you eventually may need some sunglasses. You look at a possibility of these clouds lifting, some sunshine on a cool fall day. Details on some more sun in your first alert forecast are coming up, so stick around.
Welcome back this morning. Let's take a look now at Minnesota's 1st congressional district, which spans the southern portion of the state.
Incumbent Republican Brad Finstad was challenged by DFLer Rachel Bowman of Rochester, a former elected official on the Rochester Township Board. In this congressional District 1 race, Finstad once again wins his seat in the U.S. Congress. This means the Republican will serve another 2 years in the U.S. House of Representatives. Finstad says he is honored to have earned the support of his neighbors here in southern Minnesota. After a celebration Tuesday night, he says he's going back to Washington next week to keep working. Finstad says that while emotions may be high over this election, it is important to find a balance.
And people have that emotional investment into these races. So I think just kind of a period to reflect, to calm a little bit, and to really lean into our intellect and the ability for us to have conversations that aren't based on fear or hate or worry, but balance the emotion with the intellect of the country. And quite frankly, the challenges that we have before us are really tough issues. And it's going to take people that are willing to dig in deep and have conversations that are well beyond just the I feel this or I'm mad at it for that reason.
Moving to the race for Minnesota House District 24A, this covers Byron. Republican incumbent Dwayne Quam facing off against DFLer Heather Holmes. Let's look at the results there. Dwayne Quam will continue to represent these residents in St. Paul. In the race for District 24B, this covers the southern part of Rochester, DFL incumbent Tina Liebling being challenged by Dan Cepeda. Liebling has served since 2004. Cepeda campaigned on opposing government overspending. Tina Liebling, though, will continue her role in St. Paul. District 25A now. Democrat incumbent Kim Hicks of Rochester looking to continue with a second term, facing a challenge from Republican Ken Nowitzki, a Rochester sales executive. So let's take a look at these. We are projecting with just one precinct probably left to report here. Kim Hicks will continue her work in St. Paul. And House District 25B, Democrat Andy Smith of Rochester, also looking to continue a second term. He's being challenged by Republican Wes Lund, known for his public comments at Rochester School Board and City Council meetings. And Andy Smith takes this race.
House District 26A, covering most of Winona County. This seat has been held by DFLer Gene Pulowski since 1986. Pulowski not seeking re-election here. So newcomers Sarah Kruger, a Democrat, and Aaron Rapinski, a Republican, facing off, and it looks like Aaron Rapinski is the winner with 99% precincts reporting here. District 26B, covering all of Fillmore and Houston counties and a portion of Mower. GOP incumbent Greg David seeking to retain his seat there, and it looks like he is doing just that against Democrat Allie Wolf. We go now to House District 20A, representing voters in portions of Wabasha, Goodhue, and Dakota counties. Incumbent Republican Pam Altendorf hoping to secure a second term, and she is also doing just that against Democratic challenger Heather Arndt. And in District 20B, representing parts of Winona, Olmsted, Wabasha, and Goodhue counties, the incumbent Stephen Jacob looking to retain his seat, and he will be retaining that seat. He was up against DFLer Michael Hutchinson.
To the west now, and parts of Freeborn, Faribault, Waseca, and Steele counties. This would be District 23A, incumbent Peggy Bennett being challenged by Joe Stalick there, and she takes this race this morning. Peggy Bennett staying in office. 23B, covering parts of Mower and Freeborn counties. Patricia Mueller, a Republican, is the incumbent seeking a third term in St. Paul, challenged by Democrat Joseph Pekovsky, and she takes this race this morning. More election coverage still to come. Right now, here's Ted.
Very peaceful day today, seasonably chilly, but no rain in sight today. We do have rain chances coming up this weekend as we look at your farming forecast. Bit of rain on Saturday, mostly in the afternoon and evening. Rain holds on through maybe midday Sunday, as much as another half inch or slightly more in the way of rainfall in store for the weekend time frame, surrounded by an abundance of actually upcoming sunshine. Temperatures looking pretty decent for November standards. A lot of 50s still in our future later this week.
We will take a return of sun for sure. It is 5:48, Your Vote 2024. We're going to share what happened on Election Day in North Iowa.
Plus, activity picks back up in Mankato Court today as the Adam Fravel murder trial resumes with closing arguments. We have what you need to know next.
And now, your First Alert forecast.
Pesky fog, but no rain in sight for us today as we look ahead at kind of a gray and quiet morning. Temperatures right now mainly in the 30s. Not terribly cold for this time of the year, actually kind of typical, if not maybe a little better than average, but with light winds and again, a dry weather picture. Here's a look at some of our Lewiston Auto Live cameras. We have gray skies, especially Mankato and Austin. Those are locations where the fog has really thickened in the past couple of hours. So dense fog, a concern for some of us. Rochester, that is not the concern here. We do have gray skies, but visibility not an issue in Rochester. To the west, it is a concern. Visibility level. We're talking about how dense the fog is. And right now, down to a quarter of a mile now in Austin, not in a dense fog advisory. Everything west of there is, and you can see why. Right now, less than a quarter of a mile. The current visibility in Owatonna, Albert Lee, Mankato, down to a quarter of a mile. There's that dense fog advisory. It runs until 10 o'clock this morning. Areas along and west of Interstate 35, and that will slowly lift, and in time we'll have actually some breaks in the clouds as high pressure moves in and breaks up some of those clouds with light winds and a fairly decent and fairly quiet day ahead of us. Right now in Rochester, it's 39. 43 in Winona, where there have been some gaps at times in the clouds that's allowed those temperatures to drop closer to the dew point level, and that's why you see some of that fog developing, also some of the cooler readings with the gaps in the clouds, aloft anyway. Mankato 33 at this hour, Dodge Center 34, and it's 39 in Mason City. Clouds, some fog, then some sunshine today. Actually, increasing sunshine for the next couple of days, so next 2 days looking pretty good. But the weekend does offer rain chances with temperatures mainly in the 50s. We'll be there for most of the next week. But today, I think we'll have to settle for mostly 40s heading into the afternoon. Temperatures this morning starting off in the 30s with low clouds, some areas of fog. Going into the afternoon, we see increasing sunshine, temperatures upper 40s to near 50, but just a hint of a breeze. A decent November day, really, especially once we break out into the sunshine. Temperatures in the mid-30s tonight. And tomorrow, even more sunshine, a gentle breeze. Temperatures close to 50. Will be even warmer than that on Friday. Rain chances come in this weekend, kind of a cool breeze. Rain chances mainly Saturday afternoon, Sunday, then drying out for the first part of next week. Temperatures on the outlook for today, upper 40s and near 50, some clouds and then some sunshine. A fairly light breeze. Temperatures tonight in the 30s with partly cloudy skies, and 7-day forecast looking at the temperature outlook for the next several days, mostly 50s with a little bit of weekend rain for Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, if you're planning your weekend, just make sure to have either that rain gear handy or maybe do something indoors. All right, thank you, Ted.
Sure thing.
Closing arguments in Adam Fravel's murder trial are set to begin today in Mankato.
Fravel's defense rested its case Friday after presenting 5 witnesses. Fravel is accused of murdering the mother of his children, Madeline Kingsbury. She went missing from the Winona area in March of last year. Her remains were found north of Mabel in June. Fravel did not take the stand. However, the jury cannot use that decision against him during their deliberation.
We have more election results to bring you this morning, of course, a newscast full of names and numbers. So we want to turn now to North Iowa to see what we have there. House 59, covering the majority of Cerro Gordo County. This is the seat currently held by Sharon Steckman, a Mason City Democrat who is not seeking re-election. Republican Christian Hermanson and Democrat Jeremy True running for this spot. As you see on your screen, Hermanson is the winner with 99% precincts reporting there. In the race for Iowa Senate District 30, Republican incumbent Doug Campbell is opposed by Democrat Richard Lawrence. Campbell has run on a campaign based on what he calls common sense conservative solutions. Lawrence works as a behavior interventionist at Mason City Community Schools, Doug Campbell. 99% precincts reporting him as the projected winner for District Senate Seat 30. In the race for Iowa Senate District 32, Republican incumbent Mike Klimesh facing off against Democrat Brian Bruning. Klimesh is a leader on the Transportation Committee, and Bruning has campaigned on protecting natural resources, and it looks like Mike Klimesh will be projected as the winner here with 99 precincts reporting.
There will be a new sheriff in town in Cerro Gordo County. Current Sheriff Kevin Powell's deciding not to seek re-election. Republican David Hepperly was up against Democrat Brian Koob, and voters decided Hepperly would get that job.
How does it feel to win this?
Feels great. Big relief, to be honest with you, but really feels good. I'm glad that the citizens have put their trust in me and we've prevailed in this race.
All right, it is 5:56. We have continued election results, all kinds of races coming up.